Again, divide in this case with the historian Henry C., a man I respect. I've met this man, I respect him very much. What he calls the Pope's only real opposition in the world today. If he's right, and I believe he is, we have an obligation to live up to that and to do this right and to understand that there are certain people who are going to have different opinions than ours, but who are also working to help the church, to help souls, to restore traditional Catholicism, to proclaim the kingship of Christ. They are not our enemies. It's supremely counterproductive to attack them. So what's the litmus test? If you are talking to somebody about this issue and they feel the need to constantly be tearing down Schneider or Burke or Muller or whoever it is, or Vigano, tear them all down, if they don't agree with me, that's a problem. That's your red flag, because we're all trying to muddle through this. We're all trying to figure this out. And by the way, even Archbishop, my friend Archbishop Vigano, he admits that not one of us has the authority to make this call. Does that surprise you? He just said it.
What we cannot do, because we do not have the authority, is to officially declare that Jorge Mario Bergoglio is not Pope. The terrible impasse in which we find ourselves makes any human solution impossible.
Archbishop Vigano and I don't agree on exactly the best strategic way forward, but what he said right there is exactly right. God bless him for saying it. You know why? Because that settles it. This is always what he just said, has always been the one point, the main point of contention ever since Vatican II. We do not have the authority to make this call, even if we believe it in our hearts. We don't have the authority. But what we can agree on, I hope, finally, that is there is absolutely no reason on God's green earth for us to be anathematizing each other over what even Archbishop Vigano calls a terrible impasse which makes any human solution impossible. You see? I'm really excited about this. I'm so glad that Marco Tossati and his team have done this, and it's getting wide play all around the world, all over the internet. It's very, very important to prayerfully consider what they're saying, because they're really not taking sides with anybody. They're kind of taking sides with everybody, saying, yeah, guys, but we got to get over ourselves, and we got to continue to fight together, united. Personally, I make no secret about it. I happen to believe that by some diabolical aegis, Francis is still the Pope. It's what I believe. And that's the problem, as I've said before. That's the chastisement, in my opinion. That's the crisis. But people who don't accept that, because they tell me I'm cowardly. I'm afraid to say it like it is. I'm just trying to sell subscriptions to this newspaper, and that's why, you know what I mean? Like, that's just got to stop. I've been at this for 50 years. If anybody's been at it longer than I have, please let me know. That for a long time, we've seen this, the back and forth, the ebb and flow, the squabbling, the fighting, the fracturing that goes on. If we don't get this right, it's time to get it right. And you can mock me for my position if you want to. I don't care. But I have a feeling, speaking of mockery, that the first Christians would have been similarly mocked, right, for accepting the divinity of this dead man hanging from a cross. Don't you think? Don't you think that might have been one of the bitter pills to swallow on the first Good Friday? You still think this guy was God? What's the matter with you? Right? It's mystery of iniquity. It's difficult. It's mystery. There was no clarity. God's ways are not our ways. No clarity for them, for the first Christians, when Jesus said from the cross, "Consummatum est." Can you imagine? But as I see it, again, it's just my opinion, we're called to suffer with the crucified mystical body of Jesus Christ, just as the first Christians were called to suffer with the crucified body of Jesus Christ. And you don't have to agree with me on this, and I'm not asking you to. It's merely my opinion that even a struck shepherd inadvertently fosters unity, because that unity comes with the sheep staying in the fold anyway, where there's safety against the wolves in numbers, right? That's why we always talk about unite the clans. The sheep get together and at least try your hardest to fend off the wolves together. The unity that comes from doing that and from praying together for the missing shepherd or for the hireling shepherd, right? Resisting his errors together, calling him back to the flock, right? As St. Catherine of Siena did with the Pope in her time. This is how we see it. And then in the meantime, if we can keep the clans united, homeschool our children, come out from among them, in other words, as St. Paul says, keep ourselves united in the old faith, keep hope alive, we remain in the company. Now, this is the human consolation that we didn't have 40, 50 years ago. We remain in the company of a substantial now remnant of Christendom. And that remnant now, it's not so tiny anymore, friends. I'm going to leave you with this. It's not so tiny anymore. That remnant of Christendom includes the entire Society of St. Pius X. That's 750 priests. The entire Fraternity of St. Peter, something like 500 priests. The entire Institute of Christ the King. The Society of the Good Shepherd. Thousands of diocesan priests who came over after Summorum Pontificum and who now agree with us that keeping the faith, preserving the old liturgy, trumps everything else. That's a substantial remnant that we're standing with right now. So there really is no reason to lose hope. At the same time, the Novus Ordo Church is dying. It's literally on life support now. While tradition is rising up all over the world as traditionalist pioneers.